All right, everybody, back with a brand new Friday review here on the Cabral Concept. Looking forward, as always, to sharing you the best of the week. That includes the Personomics tip of the week, our research studies of the week, 2 by popular demand that people have written in on, and a product review, as always. This week, actually not for humans, but I'm going to share with you exactly what it is and why it's becoming more popular in the non-human world. All right, let's dive right into today's show. We always start with a little recap from the past week. So on Monday's show, hopefully you checked all of these out over the past week, but if you missed any, they're always at stephencabral.com/podcasts. And it was 27 things parents do that make kids truly confident. I went over all of those, but keep in mind, it is great for relationships. It's great for yourself to be using these things, so you can check it out on Monday's show. Tuesday, we went over the glyphosate dangers and how to test your levels right at home. Simple urine-based test. So learn all about glyphosate, how to avoid it, and also how to test it right at home. On Wednesday, we went over why dieting stops working and what to do instead. If you've ever gone on a diet, if you've ever tried to lose weight, you will notice at some point you plateau. I will share with you exactly why, what not to overdo, and then how to get back on track. All right. And yesterday's show was how to safely come off testosterone, or TRT, and restore your natural productions. So this was a follow-up from the previous week's show, was the pros and cons of testosterone. So I give you all the benefits of taking testosterone and all the potential negatives. And then this week, if you decided, you know what, I think I'm going to try to get back my own natural production, whether it be for fertility issues or you're having some repercussions in terms of inflammation, heart disease, lipid profile, complete blood count, etc. I share with you exactly what you can do and what we do in our practice. All right, so let's dive right into the show. All of today's show note links will be at stephencabral.com/3745. Excited to get into this one because Higher Dose, a company that I've literally been using for years. I use their infrared sauna. I've used their PEMF mats. I've used their red light devices, the red light hat. So they're a great company, literally built on health tech. Typically PEMF, sauna, red light. Well, here is their latest creation. It is a PEMF for dogs. So PEMF mat for dogs, actually a dog bed. I'm going to share it with you right now. Hold up this huge box, but what I'll also do is pop up some images on the screen. All right, so if you're watching this on video, this is the box, and this is the small one. So my dog, Bachi, is a King Charles Cavalier. He's an amazing dog. After growing up with big boxers for dogs, and then having French Bulldogs when I lived in Boston in a small condo in the city for many, many years. I had 2 French Bulldogs at separate times, and now I have a King Charles Cavalier. All great dogs. I love dogs in general. Well, this PEMF mat is actually built for smaller dogs. I would say anywhere from 2 feet long or so to maybe like 2.5 and maybe under 30, 40 pounds. And they have a larger bed, which is meant for larger dogs, more than 30 to 40 plus pounds. So my dog Bachi actually fit perfectly in this. He's only 20 pounds, so he's not huge by any means. And I'll show it to you right now. This is it right out of the box. So it's a nice, comfy, cushioned bed with a built-in PEMF mat. That means it plugs into the wall, and what it does is 2 things. 1, produces infrared heat. I'll tell you why that's important in a moment. And the second is PEMF. We do it on setting 2 for our dog, and here's why. 2 is about 7.8 hertz, level 2. That's about what I set that is what I set my own PEMF mat, because that is about the same as the Schumann frequencies, the same frequency, the same hertz that our natural earth, the ground, gives off. So essentially has a grounding, anti-inflammatory based benefit. The heat is great for dogs that have inflammation, sore joints, arthritis, especially as they get older, or if you live in a cold climate. So the PEMF has a setting for about 20 minutes. You can turn it back on if you'd like. And the infrared, the heat, is about 3 hours. Here's what I would do is that the bed itself, so the actual flat part where your dog lies on is pretty stiff. Some dogs like it. Obviously, it's more comfortable than them just lying down on the carpet or the ground, which many dogs do. But if your dog likes a little bit more of a cushion, I would just lay down a non-flammable blanket, something comfortable for them to lie on as well. And I found that my dog, Bachi, enjoyed that much more. So if you've never checked it out, or you have a dog that has arthritis, they are inflamed, they're an older dog, or you live in a colder climate, this might be something that you look into, because if PEMF is great for humans, and we know there's so many benefits associated with it, and this same type of data can translate over to animals. Keeping in mind, most of these studies start with animals in the first place and then actually move over to humans. So a nice little addition to the Cabral household, the PEMF Pet Bed by Higher Dose. I'm going to link it up here today. We typically get discounts as just part of our community. So why don't I do that? If we can get any discount for you, I'm going to link that up here specifically at stevencabral.com/3745. Check it on out. I am not paid to promote this specific bed. I use a lot of their products, and if I like them, I end up promoting them. All right, so that is that with that. Let's go over the person tip of the week. Personomics tip number 18. Sleep is a hormonal event. I've been talking a lot lately about sleep, and that is because I now put it at the top of my hierarchy. So above nutrition, above exercise, above almost anything, it comes sleep. And here's why. I've seen people do all of the best things and still age at a faster rate, still not able to decrease the inflammation like they need to, still not able to balance their hormones. So what gives? If you are not sleeping at night, it is very difficult to rebalance your hormones. Here's why. When you sleep, you hope that the nervous system shuts down, that it basically calms out of fight or flight and shifts towards the parasympathetic nervous system. This is where hormone levels can be restored. DHEA, testosterone, progesterone, especially in women. It's also where blood sugar can move out of the bloodstream back where it should be as stored glycogen in the liver, or the muscles. Insulin levels can then start to settle down. We can tap into body fat. The entire body then can move into more of autophagy-based zone, clean up, clean house. And this is really what it's meant to do. So there's a lot of people out there, of course, you know, and I totally get it. And it is, you know, it's actually pretty amazing. They're like, I never sleep. I do these things. I go for a run at 2:30 in the morning. Unfortunately, that is not healthy, especially in the long run. So here's what I want you to do. Think of sleep as a hormonal event. It is the best way to turn on those rejuvenating hormones, right? The anti-aging hormones, and also to better balance blood sugar and overall stress. So think of sleep as I always call it like in superposition. It is the thing. And that's because if it shifts a little bit or it downshifts to less sleep, everything else suffers. So let's focus on our sleep. Let's bring sleep back into that number one position. All right, let's go over now our research for the week. Of course, I link up the studies here for you, but this was a big one. And that's because a lot of people have just been asking on social media for whatever reason. I don't know why. They've been asking about skin tags. So I said, this is interesting because I just shot a YouTube video on the 5 physical signs of heart disease. And if you haven't seen it yet, remember all of my YouTube videos are at youtube.com/@Stephen Cabral. So it's just type in Stephen Cabral. You'll find my videos. There's 2 a week. They're completely exclusive to YouTube. So we have 1 million people a month downloading the podcast, which is amazing. But less people know about the YouTube videos. And it is straight content, teaching videos. I'm giving a 10-minute seminar essentially. So just check it out. But the 5 physical signs of heart disease, hopefully that's out by the time this show is. If it's not, it'll be coming. But one of those is skin tags. Skin tags has been shown to be directly correlated with inflammation of the arteries and potentially heart disease. It's also typically indicated with higher levels, not just of lipidemia, which is higher cholesterol, but higher levels of blood sugar. So insulin resistance leads to more skin tags. There's a few other reasons, sometimes elevated levels of growth hormone, elevated levels of inflammation. Those are all possible, but mainly dyslipidemia, heart disease. Dyslipidemia just means imbalanced of negative, bad. I'm putting that in air quotes, oxidized cholesterol versus good cholesterol. And it's typically inflammatory based, of course. And then the other part is the dysregulated blood sugar. So I'm going to link that up. I mean, great studies on it. It does show, though, about half of all adults do develop at least one skin tag in their lifetime. So it is prevalent. It's more when you start to see multiple begin to multiply, especially around the neck area, the shoulder area. It's worth a look to go deeper on your heart health and, of course, your hemoglobin A1C. All right, there are other reasons, skin friction. So if it's around your armpits or it's around, not as much your elbows, but mainly your armpits, that's typically not the same. This is more when it's not around those higher friction-based areas. All right, so that is study number one. Study number two is this. A lot of people, about 50 million to 60 million Americans deal with allergies, children included. So, I mean, there's only about 330 million Americans. So when you look at that, that's a huge percentage, like 20%. Okay, so when I was growing up, I had terrible allergies. Of course, I had all sorts of food sensitivities. I had digestive issues, but we never talked about that back then, right? Nobody talked about that, especially in conventional medicine. They barely talk about it now. So here's the thing, though. I went for allergy shots back in the day. Did it help? Yes, it did, to a degree. What were in those allergy shots? Lots of metals. I don't even want to think about it. Not ideal. Nowadays, instead of getting allergy shots, you can actually use sublingual drops. And people ask all the time, are they effective? And the answer is yes. You need to use them for at least 6 months, and you need to get tested first for environmental allergies, because it's for environmental allergies we're talking about. But they really do work. They work for dogs. They work for all sorts of different things in the environment, such as pollen and grass and dust and all those things. So it is worth checking out. I've gone through a couple companies before that offer the particular service, but here's what you want to look for in the drops, and you should always ask them, what are the ingredients in the drops besides the microdose of the allergen, because that's how you become desensitized, small dose over time. What else do you want to look for? Here are the cleanest ones that I found, and you just have to ask, what's in the specifically, tell me what is in the non-active ingredients. The cleanest ones are only this: glycerin, that is basically vegetable sugar for lack of a better way of saying it, but there's no sugar in it. It's just glycerin, vegetable glycerin, okay? So that's a preservative. So it has to have something to preserve the drop, right? So that's it. So it's glycerin. It is sodium bicarbonate, which is just a more chemical term for baking soda. Then it also has typically sodium chloride, which is salt. That's all that is. And then water. Those are the cleanest drops that I've seen to date. So whatever company you go with, wherever you are in the world, because we reach people all over the world, that is what to look for in the other ingredients. So those are your research studies. Those are your tips of the week. Hopefully this was helpful. As always, if it was, do feel free to share this show with anyone you believe it could serve. And we'll be back tomorrow answering our community's questions on the Cabral House Calls. Take care, everybody.